Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're tuning in. This is MC Starman, and I'm with Diana Robinson. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Hello. We are tuning in today. It is just after the lunar eclipse here. We're on May 16th, coming to you from the Quetzal territory here in Cowichan Bay. And we're excited to talk about the next 2 weeks and the Gemini New Moon coming at the end of the month here on the 30th of May.
How was that that lunar eclipse for you?
It was powerful. It was good internally. There was a lot of new levels of like love and peace and healing, and externally there were some challenges, but it was good.
And how was it for you? We up to 368 followers on subscribers on our channel. We're inching along towards 400. It'd be great to have you part of the family. And we have one question we're going to be tending to. Earthworm 2222. I think it's a friend of yours, huh? Maybe
I know an earthworm out there on the islands.
Okay,
it could be the same fellow.
Well,
if it was, if it is, hi. If it's not, either way, a new friend. Here we go.
Okay, thanks for asking that question, and we'll do a chart. Actually, we'll do Dave's chart and show you about transits. We also so we were talking about how challenging that moon was. It's interesting, huh? It was really effective on the dream world. I don't know if you got some dreams that were significant, but I've got many clients have reached out with some powerful lunar eclipse dreams. How was your dream world?
I honestly don't recall I didn't get enough sleep. Maybe that's part of it, but I woke up having to run this morning and I don't recall any dreams tonight, but I often do lately.
It's been a powerful time, and so yeah, it's interesting. It's a kind of a very paradoxical time, huh? We both feel really enthusiastic with Jupiter coming into Aries, all kinds of enthusiasm. But then tomorrow we have that Mars Neptune conjunction and victimization and the kind of a sadness of soul. You know, it's like the transition between Pisces and Mars has taken a lot longer. I mean, from Pisces to Aries has taken a lot longer, huh? Already the sun is about to turn into Gemini, but it still feels like we're in Pisces season.
Yeah, Pisces energy has been very strong this year. It still keeps going. That Mars conjunct Neptune tomorrow, I think be gentle on yourself. Definitely don't make a massive list of things and then beat yourself up for not getting it done. Just kind of tickety-boo, do what you can, but be gentle with yourself. It could be definitely a lower drive day.
A lower drive day, I like that. So here we are, we have so the first event that we're going to be looking at leading to this new moon is so what do we got here? We got May 20th. May 20th, that's important for many reasons. So that's going to be Friday. So the end of this week, right?
Yep.
And then we're talking about again that
it's that big triangle that you see there, that big blue triangle. There's a lot going on in there.
A lot going on in there. And then we've been talking about that Mars, Jupiter, Neptune. So now Mars has moved away, and then Jupiter is into Aries here. And then Mars and Jupiter are coming together at the end of the month here. So we'll look at that too on the 30th. And then also on the 20th, we have a Moon Pluto conjunction. And this triangle here, that's active every day. This leading to the full moon, and you'll see it in the new moon, and you'll see it at the new moon too. So we have Pluto, Jupiter, Neptune, Mars, and then Mercury, Sun conjunction. So on the 21st, Sun comes into Gemini, and then we have the Mercury Sun conjunction. So that's a really key point in the Mercury retrograde cycle. So we did 2 videos recently. We did the special edition on Mercury retrograde. We encourage you to review that, because on the 21st, again, we have that conjunction of Sun and Mercury, and that's the key point in the Mercury retrograde cycle. And that conjunction of Sun and Mercury, we talked about combustion, how when Mercury is within 1 degree of the Sun, our mind kind of gets combust, we kind of like lose, our thinking capabilities. And with the moon Pluto, the moon, the deep connection with the mother, and then, the archaic mother Pluto right on the 10th house cusp there at sunrise, the beginning of Friday the 20th, liable to be pretty intense there. So don't expect too much out of that. And then that Mars Neptune, moving out, and then Mars getting ready to go into
Aries.
Aries. When is Mars going to Aries?
On the 24th.
On the 24th. So that's the 20th, and then the 21st, that's when Sun and Mercury conjunct together. And when Sun comes into Gemini, and then Mercury returns into Taurus for a little bit before it turns direct.
Yeah, and I was just reflecting, looking at this big triangle that kind of holds, different planets take the lead in holding this triangle, but it keeps holding tight until the new moon, right from this full moon we're just leaving. And so I always think of how the full moon to the new moon is this decrescendo period, and this letting go and this coming back into self after the illumination of a full moon. And with that Pluto Sun and then the Pluto Neptune, it feels like there could be some maybe big letting go or big changes in how we interact with each other or the society at large with that Capricorn Pisces energy.
If we look at it from the perspective of this lunar eclipse we just went through, this full moon, so we talked about how eclipses are really important. Full moons, there's a lot being put in question in terms of, okay, what does the next 6 months of my life look like? What is, what am I making out of these times? How do I adjust to them? And so there's a lot of tension that the full moon has brought up. And then this meditation goes on as we observe this planetary alignment. See, we can see also on the 24th there. Where is the 24th? That's far right now. Okay. So the 24th. So again, on the 20, so that's we looked at the 20th chart. So this is Tuesday, the 24th. And then we have that Pluto still there, and then Mercury Sun conjunction again. And then we have
the moon's now come around to Neptune there.
Yeah, so we had that right before the full moon, right? We had this hello, get my pen working. Here we go. So we had this right before the full moon, where the moon, Jupiter, so now Mars is entering into Aries, and that's liable to be really quite energetically felt, and then now Mars and Jupiter are both in Aries, and they're coming closer to the conjunction that comes on the 30th at the new moon. And again, we have that Mercury, Sun, Pluto trine, so that triangle, it's constellated all the way to the full moon. And so we'll be really keeping track of that. And again, we talked about it at the beginning, this Neptunian Piscean things. And now, we're coming into Jupiter, Mars into Aries, and then the Sun is into Gemini. So it's liable to be a lot more social, a lot more. My sense is that, especially with Mars coming into Aries and then Mars, Jupiter, that feels a lot warmer to me. Feels like, okay, maybe enough of that cold, wet weather that we got with all the planets in Pisces. And now, that's a lot of planets into Aries. That's Mars, Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus all in the Pisces. And then
for a little bit, but only a few days later, on the 28th, we have Venus going to Taurus.
right, so Venus here is going to go into Taurus, and that's going to change. Venus in Taurus is exalted there, so then that's liable to be much more nurturing. But then with Mars in Aries, we're going to go after what we want. That should be exciting. And then quite this from the full moon to the new moon, we have the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So the third quarter, immediately after the full moon lunar eclipse, we have an integration of everything we've been working towards, so that's the first 7 days. And then at the beginning of the fourth quarter, then we have like an ebb of energy. But then the ebb of that energy really feels, like we're going to be really activating a lot of energy with that Mars Jupiter conjunction. And then let's look at the
big new moon.
The big new moon. Where is that big new moon? Bottom. It's moved. Okay. And so then that new moon, here it is.
So the new moon is on, like I've said, May 30th. And it's also the day that Mars goes in and conjuncts Jupiter at 3 or 4 degrees of Aries. So if you have 3 or 4 degrees of Aries in your chart activated, or 3 or 4 degrees of Libra activated for that matter, take note, you're probably going to feel this new moon extra potent.
So we looked at 2 conjunctions. We have Mars Jupiter exact on the 30th. So that's liable to be packed with energy. And then we have the new moon in Gemini. And the new moon, the only aspect it makes is Mars and Jupiter. And then we have that triangle again, but now it's with Mercury retrograde. And by June 3rd, so this is May 30th, which is a Monday. By the 3rd, Mercury turns direct, so is moving back towards the sun and the moon. And then we have Saturn moving retrograde. We'll talk about that a little bit more here. But that Mars Jupiter conjunction in sextile to a Gemini moon and sun conjunction. What does that feel like to you?
A Gemini sun and moon conjunction?
Oh,
it's funny. I think of like Gemini as being the twins and the 2 parts of our personality that often want to live simultaneously. And then the sun and the moon is that within us too, the extrovert, the introvert, the outer and inner expression of self also coming into union. So there could be a union of many aspects of ourself with a lot of fire to support a new, especially Aries fire, which is all about starting new things, like a whole new maybe way of communicating, way of thinking, way of relating to yourself.
We've been kind of feeling, the build of this energy. We talked about the one of my last posts on Facebook was about, how a wave, you can feel, you don't see a wave right away. A wave maybe it can create it thousands of miles away, and for a long time you don't see it, but you start seeing it when it comes to the shore, and all of a sudden it gets really big. So it's kind of, we've been feeling this wave of change. It was really quite prominent leading to the full moon that we were feeling, something, this eclipse, building, there's a lot of transformation. Then the full moon passed, and it's like, okay, but my sense is that Mars, Jupiter, sun, moon, we're starting to feel it. And then now, there's going to be a real outrush of energy with that Mars, Jupiter, sun, moon in Gemini. Feels quite fascinating, huh?
Yeah. Guess I'll also take note here that if you have, this is happening at 9 degrees of Gemini. So if 9 degrees of Gemini or 9 degrees of Sagittarius is active in your chart, or any of the mutable signs for that matter, then you're probably going to feel this a lot more than some other people. It's always fun to look at your chart and follow along and notice what's up on the rise for you, what waves are going to be coming to hit you in your energy frequency.
And then we were talking about Saturn turning retrograde. So when is Saturn turn retrograde? On the 4th?
On the 4th.
And so Saturn, what that's going to mean, Saturn turning retrograde, and again, this energy of Mars, Jupiter, Sun, Moon together, and then we have so we've been talking about the Saturn Uranus square.
Right.
Both have been moving direct, and you see the line between Saturn and Uranus has got real thin. They're still in square, but they're really far away from each other. Now, when Saturn moves retrograde, I'll do a video on that, an update and a look at the fall coming up. But Saturn moving back towards a square. So now you're going to see from now on. And then because Saturn is moving retrograde and Uranus is still moving direct, they're going to be moving really fast towards each other. So that by summertime, they're going to be within 2 degrees of each other as early as August, July, August, into September. So that Saturn, Uranus energy, so paying attention to that. So that's kind of the long picture for you, and we'll talk about it more as we go along.
Maybe that's part of the lightening up of this, like, kind of hard rules and regulations. There's been a little bit of a lightening between their dynamic, and they're going to come back into some square. So
well
we'll
however it manifests, whether it's a return to the craziness we saw or a further development of the craziness of the socioeconomics that we've been experiencing, and that's and again, this discussion of the Saturn Uranus square, I think I'm going to have another one. Maybe Alan's going to join me for a discussion on that this week. But it is a real sense that we're not out of the woods yet, and I think we all know, deep down that we're in for quite a powerful summer and fall, and so really being in tune with the times, and I think being frugal and being mindful of our energy, not rushing around too much. With Mars, Jupiter in Aries, you kind of feel invincible, and like Superman, but really like we talked about with the Mercury retrograde, fools rush in where angels fear to thread, tread, take your time, assess situation, Mercury's turning retrograde. That conjunction on the 21st is going to be really important. And then so you want to review the dates that are important for our viewers?
Sure, yes. I guess just tailing off first on what you were saying there, this new moon in Gemini rules our nervous system. And so it can be a really good time to make sure you have some kind of nervous system practice, whether that's maybe meditation or exercise or deep breathing, or playing music is a great one, something that helps to regulate your nervous system. Because with that Mars and Jupiter and Aries, it could definitely be fired up, and hopefully not fired up more than we can feel comfortable with, to a very uncomfortable state. So finding nervous system regulation tools might be very essential the next few weeks. But coming into the dates, definitely dates you want to be aware of are, tomorrow, Mars and Neptune make that conjunction.
That's on the 17th of May.
20th of May. We have
the 21st. The 21st, we have Mercury. Oh, yeah, we have a Moon Pluto conjunction. But on the 21st, we have Mercury Sun conjunction, Mercury retrograde. That's a really key important point. And then the
0 degrees Gemini.
Yeah, and then Sun is entering into Gemini while Mercury is going back into Taurus. So that's going to be a key date. What other dates do we have?
And then we have a lot of planets switching signs. So on the 24th, we have Mars going to Aries. Definitely be a time to get things moving forward.
We're going to get a boost of energy from that for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And the weather might even further change. We might get some heat again, finally.
And then Venus moves into Taurus to help hopefully ground some of that out on the 28th of May.
Venus in Taurus is really beautiful. It's very creative, beautiful singing voice. You know, Venus is exalted. It's her home in Taurus. So being in the body, being in the garden. And then I know a lot of us have been craving heat because our gardens are not growing. So that should, you know, also help. And then what else?
And then the big new moon, which is on the 30th. After the new moon, which
well, on the new moon,
though.
But on the new moon, we have the Jupiter, Saturn, the Jupiter, Mars conjunction.
Yeah.
And then the third, we have Mercury turning direct and Saturn turning retrograde.
On the 5th.
Yeah, that's fourth. So that's the highlights. And then we had a question. You want to read the question that we did?
Yeah.
This was exciting from Earthworm. Thanks for asking questions. And if you do ask questions, we will cover them in our question and answer period. Yoo-hoo! Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for that. I was wondering if you have done or would do a video on how to relate to your own natal chart with the present planetary chart. How do they affect each other? How do you or would you relate each sign? For example, the moon is in Virgo. Would you then relate it to your moon sign, your natal chart, or would you relate it to where you have signs in Virgo? And how would you relate the two, or how would one affect the other? I hope you have a great week. Thanks. And thank you too for checking in and asking questions, Earthworm. We're going to kind of go over that a bit in a simple form.
So we could do a whole video on that, and we should at a particular point, but that's a really good question. And then the question is in two parts, you know. So how do you experience the moon when your moon is at a different sign? So if your moons are aspecting each other, so there's two words that you have to learn. You have to learn aspect and you have to learn transit. An aspect is the angular relationship between two planets. And so we'll show you, I'm going to give you an example. We're going to pull up Diana's chart here, and we're going to see how to read transits. Transits is where the planets are right now. So let's pull up a chart for you here. And day is the bottom, and day is over here. And we're going to make day bigger. Here we go. And this, and we're going to get a pen out. Okay, so now the planets on the outside, that's the transiting planets. So this chart I did today, so it's right after the full moon. So the full moon would mean it was, 2 days ago. So the full moon in Taurus to the moon in Scorpio. So you see that full moon was right on the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction straddling the first house. So you must have really experienced this full moon quite significantly.
It was significant, that's for sure.
What does that Jupiter-Pluto in your chart feel like to you in Scorpio? It's that intense detective seeking, to understand what the deep motivation of things. So you must have been, well, you had you and Kai had an anniversary, your 8th anniversary. So you must have been confronting issues of deep meaning into your relationship, huh?
We took some time for that, for sure. It's been a really busy go, so I don't know how much we really went into it. But we had a lot of good connection, and also for me personally, at least I can speak, is there's a lot of like when I read this now as a fresh eyes going over it with you, I see how there's a lot of expansion of my personality where I was able to let go of and witness how much I've been able to let go of that over the past few years. I've struggled with a lot, letting go of habits or mental patterns or aspects of myself that I knew were holding me back and I didn't want to walk forward with. And yesterday I was able to really see how much of that I've been able to let go.
So then in a short language, you know, what you expressed, and also that full moon right on your Jupiter Pluto. So that's kind of how you would read this, Earthworm. And in terms of the relationship with the moon in Leo, so right now today the moon is in trine, so it's forming 120 degree with day's Leo moon. Interesting, they have a Leo moon too. That and it's right like over here, so we have a moon conjunction. So that's what, you know, we both like the stage. And did you see how beautiful we are? We're matching colors and we're matching flowers. We're paying attention to the details. The moon in Leo is putting on a show. And so then that moon in trine to the moon. So then you could give kind of an example of that, you know, moon to moon relationship. So as the moon, you know, the moon takes 28 days to go around the zodiac, and it will trigger areas of your chart as it moves along. But also, you know, so this is how you keep track of transits. Saturn, so day is coming to her Saturn return. And what else has been intense in her so the sun, the Uranus opposition to the sun and to Venus retrograde in her chart, and then all with that Saturn in square to Pluto also. So that's kind of how you read transits. It's complex and we need to talk more about it, but that's kind of just a brief treatment of your question.
Should we quickly show on the Gemini axis there, like if you had a planet in Gemini, so on the inner wheel there's
the next
planets.
The next new moon is over here.
Yeah.
And for you, what is this new moon will be forming a 90-degree angle to your Saturn in Pisces. So then the Saturn in Pisces, and then you're getting to your Saturn return too. So this is going to be kind of a foreshadowing, kind of a preview of coming attraction for you. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. So that's kind of, you know, again, that's really complex. And that's what we do in a reading. When I do a reading for you, we consider, first we consider the natal chart and the angular relationships and the planetary positions, and we'll go into depth into a psychological analysis of your personality and of your fate, your destiny, what you're here to do. And so it's a powerful process. And then at the end of the reading, we usually do a transit reading, and the transit reading kind of shows you how things are unfolding in your life. So that's the role of transits versus natal chart. Thank you for your question, Earthworm. Please keep the questions coming, and we'll keep doing these.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And then I've been thinking we should do some dream analysis work too, because, the Healer and the Dreamer, we mix astrology and dream analysis. So I don't know exactly how that's going to go, but we're going to keep it going. And you won't be here next week.
I won't be here next week, no.
So I might do a video by myself, or I might have another impromptu guest. We'll see what happens. I like to have guests. It's a nice conversation. This thing doesn't go on till, unless we're really in service to you, the viewer. So your comments, your reactions, your questions, and your subscribing to the channel is essential. Again, we got 368 and moving towards 400, and we'll have a party when we reach the 400. Thanks for following us. It's MC Starman with my friend Diana Robinson. Thank you, Day.
Thank you, Martin. I'm going to do a quick little add in that for the dream work, sometimes getting astrology chart might feel like a lot at once, but dream work is something that's pressing. So I had a dream that came up a couple weeks ago, and it kind of was haunting me in a way, not in a bad way, but I just kept remembering it, and it kept feeling like there was a message, and I couldn't really figure it out fully, or I thought I did, but I wasn't sure. And I brought it to Martin, and he helped me really understand more of what my subconscious is trying to say, and it's really helpful. And it doesn't have to be super long process, and it also can just be really helpful to give you some confidence on the path that you're on, or if you're feeling confused about where you're going, what you're wanting, or what maybe you think you're doing everything right, but there's this weird feeling. There's a million ways the subconscious speaks, and dreams are a really powerful tool. So
it's, you know, I've been,
recommend.
thank you for that. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you,
it's
my
all
dear. But I was thinking, you know, how astrology, in a sense, it's easier to explain because there's
Yeah.
so much, you know, it's complex and there's so much to talk about, but it's kind of easier because you've got all of these things to talk about. Dream analysis, it's much more, you know, I don't know, it's, in a sense, there's not as much data into it. And so I've been struggling with how to express it, but I think that I'm coming around. I'm going to do a video series on dream analysis. So stay tuned, you guys.
Take care. Much love. Happy spring. Happy Aries season coming, even though we're well into Taurus.
Woo! Thanks, you guys.